is Ryan Plaskett from Hamilton Plant Hire, Demex and Rock and Soil Recycling. We are a multifaceted company that is in the recycling, demolition, civils, bulk earthworks and contract crushing space. Our operations include collections, so we collect waste from sites and then reprocess them in our yards. We also offer on-site crushing, where we would come in, potentially demolish a building or clean up old material that's been left behind, reuse it in new aggregates, which you would use in your construction process. We also offer people to drop off at our facility and collect obviously new material. The waste from demolitions became something that we were disposing of, which then we would tip at a landfill and forget about it. We now process it and then resell it, which then obviously some good for the environment, and we also are in turn creating work for our trucks again and cross-hauling new aggregates back into the market. So recycled aggregates in their nature are unfortunately not as stable as sort of mined material. So there's obviously some challenges involved in getting engineers to buy into the idea of using recycled material. But we've found through different methods of crushing and screening, we can then give the client a quality of product that's pretty similar to what he would get conventionally from a quarry. And generally we shorten the hauls of the material, which gives a cost benefit to the client. So using recycled material in our business has created a massive influx of opportunities. We land up being a lot more competitive than our competitors because we are now selling our own material into the market, which obviously means that we're making on the full spectrum of the job. We also then manage to sometimes reuse the same material on the same site instead of importing from a quarry, which obviously is a huge cost benefit on the tender side, as well as a benefit for the client on his overall project. The machinery is the most important part of this whole exercise. It makes or breaks whether you're going to give the product that the client actually requires and that the engineer is happy to use over and over again. So that is probably one of the most important parts. So in its nature, unfortunately, rubble is more complicated to process due to like factors as in contaminants. Every bit of rubble has got some wood, got some plastic. There's steel, a lot more steel to deal with, which crushers don't generally enjoy. You've got cast iron, which is something that you can't move it with magnets, so it becomes it becomes a bit of a complication. And obviously in its nature, it's not as consistent as natural virgin material, so a lot more thought processes need to go into actually getting the material to pass certain standards. So input material is an important part of the process, and we use blending and those type of things to try and ensure that we give a consistent material. Obviously, if the rubble coming in is more brick waste, it complicates the material because of the clay content. So then we'll add it to very clean concrete, which will then blend it out and even it out so that it becomes a consistent product. So the most important part of the process is waste stream management and how the material comes in and how it's then classified and then mixed in with other material to try and give it consistency. Licensing wise, we obviously require government buy-in, which means we have to register as a recycling facility. We've got some air management that needs to be in place for dust and those sort of things, and then obviously you've got to comply with all the local authorities with all their permitting. The recycling in this industry has got, there's a huge amount of potential for it, and we're fortunate in South Africa that we have a lot of natural resource. But I mean, the natural resource is pushing further and further away from the developed area. So obviously landfill airspace is also a massive issue. So if we can kill two birds with one stone and create valuable aggregates out of material that potentially would have been in landfill and save kilometers of haulage, it's good for the environment and it will be the future of construction. It also is a massive cost benefit, which then in turn makes projects a little bit more feasible.